Hi everybody, this is Eduardo Suarez. In this video I'm going to show you how to create your own aerodynamic tooling and how to import it in RoboGuide. We're going to start with a work cell that I have already created. We're going to expand the robot controller. We're going to select the robot. We're going to go to tooling and we're going to select the user tool 1. We're going to right click and from the drop down menu we're going to select add link, and on the second drop down menu we have a few options. We can add the link from the CAD library, we can add the link from the file. In this video I'm going to show you how to add a link from the CAD file, but first we're going to select the CAD library. So here we have a library already predefined by FANUC. We're going to select the aerodynamic tooling, and from all the options we're going to select the pointer and we're going to select this pointer over here. We're going to have a property window from the pointer and we're going to select OK, and you're going to see that the pointer is attached to the faceplate of the robot and is assigned as a user tool 1. One more thing that we're going to do, we're going to select the triad, and you're going to see on the bottom that is showing the coordinates for the triad. We're going to change the coordinates from Cartesian to joint, and we're going to change the joint 5 to 0 degrees. Now we can see the pointer from the front. For simplicity, I'm going to show you how to create the same pointer as is shown here, and we're going to be using a 3D CAD software that is called OnShape. OnShape has a free editing version that is good enough for what we're going to do in here. OnShape is a web-based software. That means that you don't need to install anything on your computer. The only thing that you need is internet access. We're going to open the web browser and we're going to type OnShape. Here on the right hand side you're going to see that it's an option for signing up and creating your own account. In my case I have already an account, so I'm going to sign in. Once you have signed in, you're going to have this page in here where on the bottom you can see all the projects that you have already created, and if you want to create a new project you just select create a document. All the documents that we're going to create are going to be public. That's because we're using the free version. We're going to change the name. We're going to call it pointer, and we're going to create the document. Now we are in the editing side of the project. You're going to see on the work area that we're going to have 3 planes, the right plane, the front plane, and the top plane. And on the top right hand side you're going to see a cube with the coordinates x, y, and z, and the cube is showing the planes again, the right, front, and top. So don't feel intimidated about how to create a CAD model. This is very simple as I'm going to show you, and there are a lot of resources on the internet, on YouTube videos with OnShape tutorials. First thing we're going to do, we're going to click over here and we're going to select workspace units, and we're going to make sure that for the length we're using millimeters, and for the mass we're going to change this one to kilograms, and we're going to go back to this menu later. So now we're going to go back to the RoboGuide and we need to create the send model as we have in here for the NRAM tooling. You're going to see that the pointer has a plate in here, a round plate, and there is another round plate on the center. We're going to take the measurement tool that we have in here, and we need to measure the diameter for this plate. So we're going to select from, and we're going to select edge, and we're going to click over here, and we're going to go to, we're going to select edge again, and we're going to go to this point over here. And you can see that the diameter is 152 millimeters. We're going to go back to OnShape, and what we need to do, we need to make sure that the way that they build the 3D model coincides with the coordinates that we have in here. So the NRAM tooling is pointed on the z-axis, and we're going to do the same on our model. So the z-axis is going to be on the top surface. So we're going to select top, and first thing we need to do, we need to create a sketch. So once you select the sketch, you're going to select the surface over here, and you're going to see that there is a context menu with the toolbar, and from the toolbar we're going to select the center point circle. We're going to select this, we're going to select the center point on the plane, we're going to press the left button on the mouse, and we're going to drag. As we drag, the circle is created. We're going to let the left button go, and the circle is created, and you're going to see that it's a blue line. Without doing anything else, we're going to type 150, and we're going to press enter, and the circle is created with a diameter of 150 millimeters. You're going to notice now that the line changed from blue to black, and we finished the editing. So now we can press on this check mark in here, and the sketch is added to the tree view on the left. So now we have our two-dimensional object that is a circle. We need to convert this one to a 3D model. We're going to go back to the RoboGuide, and now we need to know the height for this plate. We're going to select again from, and we're going to select the top, and we're going to go to the point over here, and in this case we have a height of 12.7 millimeters. We're going to go back to OnShape, and now what we need to do, we need to use the extrude tool. We're going to select our surface again. We're going to select the tool that's called extrude, and you're going to see that automatically created a 3D object with a depth of 25 millimeters. We're going to change this one to 30 millimeters, and we're going to press enter. And you can see here that also you have an error. So if you click with the left button on the mouse, you can drag this one up and down to create your object. We're going to press on the check mark, and we have already our plate created. So our next step is going to be exactly the same. we're going to create the second plate. For the second plate, that is the one that's showing over here, we're going to go from, we're going to select this point, and we're going to go to, we're going to select this point, and the diameter is going to be 62.5 millimeters. We don't need to do exactly the same. We're going to go roughly do the same dimensions. We're going to select the top plane. Again, we're going to create a new sketch. We're going to select this surface over here. We're going to go to the center point circle. We're going to select the center point. We're going to drag with the mouse, and we're going to give it diameter of 60 millimeters. We're going to press OK, and we have now our circle. We need to know the depth of this, so we're going to go from, we're going to go to, we're going to select this point over here, and it's going to be 8 millimeters on height. So now again, we're going to select our circle, millimeters, and we have our second plate. You see, this is a very simple process. Okay, we're going to keep repeating that. We're going to go to the top view, and now we need to create the next part of the pointer. So we're going to go from, we're going to select this point over here, to, we're going to select this point over here, and this has a diameter of 30 millimeters. We're going to go to sketch again. We're going to select the plane. We're going to select the center point circle. We're going to select the center, and from the center we're going to go 30 millimeters. We're going to press OK, and now we need to create the extrude again. We're going to select from, we're going to go from this point in here to, we're going to go to this point over here. This is going to be roughly 70 millimeters. We're going to select the sketch. We're going to use the extrude, and we're going to give it 70 millimeters. We're going to press OK. So one more thing that we can do, we're going to select this edge over here, and we're going to select the chamfer, and we're going to select 2 millimeters, and we're going to give it a chamfer in here. We're going to do exactly the same with this edge over here. We're going to select the chamfer again, 2 millimeters, and we have something similar to what we have in here. Now we need to create this shape over here. We're going to select this part in here. We're going to select the fillet. We're going to give it 5 millimeters, and we have already the fillet. Okay, now we need to continue. We need to create the next part of the shape. It's going to be this one in here. We're going to go from, we're going to select this point, 2, we're going to select this point, and this is going to be roughly 37 millimeters in diameter. So we're going to select the top panel. We're going to select this surface over here. We're going to create a sketch. We're going to select the center point. We select the center, and we're going to give it 37 millimeters. I'm going to press OK, and we have our sketch number 4. You know already the process. We're going to go from, we're going to select this point over here to, we're going to select this point over here. This is going to be 22.4 millimeters. So we're going to select our sketch number 4. We're going to select the extrude, and we're going to give it 22.4. We can select 25 millimeters, should be okay. And let's see what we have in here. We have our shape already created. We can give it a chamfer. So we're going to select this one over here. We're going to give it a chamfer of 2 millimeters. And we're going to select this one over here, and we're going to give it a chamfer of 5 millimeters. Still, we need to create our next part. So we're going to go to, from this point to this point over here, and this is going to be roughly 10 millimeters. We select the top, we select the surface over here, we're going to create a sketch. Again, we're going to select this one in here, we're going to go from here, and we're going to give it 10 millimeters. Now we need to know the length. We're going to go from this point to this point over here, and this is going to be roughly 60 millimeters. So we're going to select the sketch number 5. We're going to select the extrude. We're going to give it 60 millimeters. And we have our next part of the pointer. We're almost done. Now we need to add the tip, and the tip is going to be 5 millimeters, I believe. So we're going to go from here to here, and this is going to be roughly 5 millimeters. So for doing the last part of the shape, we're going to select the surface, and we're going to create a new plane. We're going to go to here, plane. We're going to select offset, and you're going to see that there is a new plane that is going to be created over here from this surface. So we're going to select 5 millimeters, and we have our plane. So now we're going to select the plane, we're going to select the sketch, and from here we're going to select the point, we're going to select the top view, and we're going to select the point that is on the center over here, and we're going to press OK. And you're going to see that there is a pointer, there is a point created on the plane number 1. What we need to do now, we need to select this surface over here. We're going to select the point that is over here, and now we're going to select the loft, and we're gonna press OK, and you're gonna see that the pointer is created. And we have our shape created over here. As you can see, this is a very simple process. It took us only a few minutes to create the shape in the 3D model. Next thing that we need to do, we need to export this model and import it on RoboGuide. We're going to select over here the part. We're going to right click and we're going to select export. And over here you're going to have the name. We're going to call it Part Studio 1. And the format, you have several options for the formatting. We're going to select this one in here, IGES. We're going to select download and we're going to select export. It's going to generate the part and it's going to export it over here. Okay, the part was exported to my downloads. We're going to open RoboGuide again. We can close this one. And what we can do, we can select now user tool number 2. We're going to right click. We're going to go to add link. And we're going to select add link from the CAD file. So now we're going to select the part. You can see here all the options that we have. The option that you're using is one of these one over here. And we're going to select open. And the part is already imported and attached to the faceplate. So we can zoom in and you're going to see over here that we have a problem with the tip of the pointer. And there is nothing wrong with our model. I believe the problem is with the RoboGuide. So what we're going to do, we need to fix this part. We're going to select the link again. We're going to delete it. We're going to go back to our model and we're going to select the plane number 1. We're going to edit that and we're going to change this one to 7 millimeters. We're going to press OK and we're going to see what happened now. We're going to export this one again. It's creating a new version. We're going to go back to RoboGuide and we're going to import that again. We're going to select our new version. And this time the pointer is fixed, but you're going to see that is a weird shape. I don't know, again, this is something that RoboGuide is doing. It's nothing wrong with our 3D model. So if you look at the pointer that we have over here and you wonder why this one has a weird shape, is that again they might have to deal with this problem that we have with the pointer. and this is our result. The pointer from the RoboGuide library and our pointer. So we are not done yet. We're going to open the Teach pendant. We're going to select menu. We're going to go to next. We're going to go to system, and we're going to select motion. And now we need to create our payload. We're going to select the payload number 1, and we're going to go to detail. And over here we need to enter all this information. That is going to be the payload, the center for the payload, and the moment of inertia. For that, we're going to go back to our model. We're going to select over here. We're going to go to the workspace units again, and we're going to go from millimeters, we're going to change it to centimeters. We're going to select our part over here. We're going to right click, and we're going to select assign material. And for the material, we're going to select aluminum. You're going to see that there are several options. We just want to select one of them, and we're going to press OK. And now what we need to do, with the part selected, we're going to go to the bottom right over here where it says displace mass and section properties. And you're going to see here that we have the mass, we have the center of the mass, that's going to be this point relative to our origin. So this is going to be on the Z axis, and we have the moment of inertia that is going to be for each one of the axes. Something that you need to notice that the moment of inertia is shown in here. The units is kilograms centimeter square, and what we need to do in here is kilogram force centimeter second square. So we need to change from what we have over here to what we have over here. For now, we're going to start entering the mass. So our mass is going to be 0.895 kilograms. It's going to say path and cycle time will change. Set it. We're going to press yes. And now we need to add the center of the payload. So on the X is going to be 0, on the Y is going to be 0, and on the Z axis is going to be 2.406 centimeters. And we're going to press yes again. We're going to minimize the teach pendant for a moment, and we're going to open a new page. We're going to go to calculator.org. We're going to select this option over here, unit conversion, and we're going to scroll down to the option that says moment of inertia. We're going to change the units. We're going to select kilograms centimeter square, and we're going to go to kilogram force centimeter second square. For the X, we're going to type 19.205, and this is going to give us 0.0195. We're going to put this information on our payload. This is going to be for the X. is going to be the same value for the y, and we need to find out how much it's going to be for the z. It's going to be less than that. It's going to be 0.01 again. We're going to go back to RoboGuide. We're going to go to the teach pendant, and we are done. We have our new part as an in-arm tooling, and we have the properties for the payload. So in conclusion, I show you here how to create in-arm tooling using the 3D model that's called OnShape. This is one of the many options that you have for creating 3D models. And I notice this is very handy. I don't have experience with any other software, but the concept is very simple. You just create your model, you import that on the RoboGuide, and you just need to add the information for the payload.